And now, Michigan Reimagined with Chris Buck.
The coronavirus pandemic of 2020 has wreaked havoc on virtually all aspects of life. One facet of fallout that's has been the future of the office workspace. Here to give us an expert perspective on this topic is Senior Vice President and Office Associate for Martin Commercial Properties, Mr. Eric Rosekrans. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you, Chris. Glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about Martin Commercial Properties and your role there.
Well, Martin Commercial Properties is a leading full-service commercial real estate company. Been in operation for well over 50 years. I've been associated with the company for 41 years. The owner of the firm, Van Martin, and I have worked together this entire time. And we have grown the company and just helped our clients and customers find the right real estate solutions, whatever it may be, in a myriad of opportunities within the commercial real estate field.
And then you focus on office space, right?
My specialty over my entire 41-year career is working with users, landlords, corporations to facilitate their needs from generally an office perspective, whether it was buildings or land, that sort of thing.
And I would imagine that your stable of satisfied clients and spaces leased would probably wow the audience, and they probably know some of the brands you've worked with, right? I mean, you've been around the block a little bit. 41
years is a long time. So we have a wonderful stable of clients and customers that we've worked with over the years.
Great. So you know what you're talking about. And
well, I like to, I put my life into it and try to study the things and understand the trends and get data to help us make informed decisions and give informed information to our customers and clients.
So pre-pandemic, can you tell us the general state of office use in mid-Michigan, based on your observation, occupancy level, rental rates, things of that nature?
It was really, in a general sense, the market pre-COVID was very strong. There was a lot of activity, a lot of new users coming into town, a lot of existing users that were expanding, renewals were occurring. Vacancy rates were dropping, rental rates were stable to rising. There was my team in and of itself was just extremely busy with everything that was going on pre-COVID.
So as the pandemic really started to take hold, did most of the projects that were in flow just kind of hit pause or go away? Or
no, it's been very interesting what's happened during this time. And initially, and when I say initially, the first couple of weeks of the pandemic, it was just really pandemonium.
Right.
People trying to figure out what in the world's going on. What do we do? How do we do it? And including us, we didn't have the answers. It was new to everybody. The uncertainty that was created was overwhelming at the time. So there were a lot of deals, per se, put on hold right away. But as time went on and people started getting their arms around the situation that we were in, what we experienced was a lot of the deals that were in works continued and went on, and many of them were completed. It's not to say that there weren't many deals that went away or were put on hold, some temporarily, some permanently, but there were a lot of deals that were completed. And I was surprised at how busy we were in completing a lot of the deals that went on, and the optimism that many people had in moving forward as they got their arms around this pandemic. Now that we're a little further into it, I think the one thing that's interesting is that everyone has an opinion, and you can go out and get articles and read things. You can talk to different directors of facilities for corporations or CEOs of companies and get all of their opinions. But it is clear that people are getting their arms around this. And the one big factor that we all talk about is the work from home.
Right.
And that has taken a hold to some degree, and it was not a big issue prior to COVID. As a matter of fact, companies were not necessarily in favor of it, and they've been fed it now. And I think it's raised the eyebrows of many people that there may be a place for the work from home within the culture of the business they're trying to build. So it's interesting dealing with that as we go through this timeline of where we are and how it ultimately will fit into place.
And you're right. There's the information overload. I mean,
Yes.
really,
Yes,
and
there really is.
preparing for the show and just kind of reading up on, even if you're not in the industry, you get hit over the head with, is the office space dead, right? I mean, there are headlines and does everyone work from home forever, or what does that look like? And to your point, I mean, the bottom line is nobody knows the answer, right?
No, the uncertainty that's been created is very real. There's no question. There's disruption. There's concern. There's questions. I've had calls from clients that had just signed a lease pre-pandemic. What do we do? We don't need all of this because we're working from home. And to those kinds of people, I would say give it time, let this develop. I think one of the things that's come out that a lot of people didn't think of initially, and you didn't hear about it much, but is very important, is the culture and idea generation and being together. And that's become, I think, a very big element for a lot of CEOs and presidents of organizations, that everybody working from home does not create that culture that many of them are trying to do. And that, culture is different to different people.
Sure.
And in the workforce today, the new millennials and millennials and the way people work, the way they want to work, and the things that they have to do will be different. I'm at my age. give me a piece of paper and a pen, and if you want me to read something, print it for me, and that sort of thing. But today's people are very different. But still, there's the aspect of a culture is very important for these companies. And so I prescribe, frankly, to the thought that the office is not dead. Will the office be modified? Yes, it will be. And there will be elements to the new office going forward that will be baked in, and designs and efficiencies and flows will all be done to facilitate what we're going through now.
Well, to talk about the culture, I just find that the pace of play, the ability to get more done in a business day, is much harder when everyone's remote. And I think that, the video platforms, the Zooms and those kinds of things have worked well in when you set up appointments and you kind of hammer out the details of what needs to be done. But there is something lost when, if I walk from one end of my building to the other, the ability to catch the eye of 2 or 3 people on that little walk to the break room even, and just say, hey, what's the follow-up on that? And when are we going to hear from this person? And so many of those things pop into your head as a business leader. And if you can't get them out, you almost forget to follow up, or you have to wait until it's scheduled. Yes. So I hear you about the culture piece. And I think that I agree with you that there will be some, changes in the office space in the future, but the culture piece does resonate with me. One of the articles I read that seemed to resonate the most to me is did a simple ratio of square foot per worker, right? So it seemed like office space, and please correct me if I'm wrong because you're the expert, but there was a trend over maybe the last 5 or 10 years to kind of rack them and stack them, right? And real collaborative workspaces where people are kind of on top of each other, or sharing desks, and no private offices, and kind of this, newer kind of workspace setup. And now I'm here, this article that I read talked about just using round numbers. If you have a 3,000 square foot office space with 30 employees, you've got 100 square foot per an employee. But if you've got a couple of departments that you can cycle in and out or have permanently work from home, you might want that 3,000 square feet for the 20 people that are left, because now you get to give them 150 square feet. So there is the social distancing and modify your office furniture and that kind of stuff. And that it might be a net zero from a square footage required for a certain type of company. Does that resonate with you at all? Or what are your,
certainly it does. In my 40 plus years in this business, I've seen square footage per person go from 400 square feet, which is what you generally see for a law firm, all the way down to 150 square feet per person. But that generally has been in an open space setup or a call center setup when you get that small, because you have to remember what's baked into the square footage is the common conference rooms, the break rooms, the common areas that each person is applied to. So some people say, well, I'm in a 6x6 cube, that's 36 square feet. Well, by the time you give the contribution of the common spaces, it generally is more than that. And when you get 150, 160 square feet per person, that's cramming them in. And I think that is going to change. I think there is going to be some net, whether it's net benefit, net negative, or net positive, net negative. I think we'll see as these things develop over time. But there's no question that the social distancing element is going to come into that. So we represent many major corporations and have talked with a lot of their both CEOs and facilities people. And interestingly, around here, everybody almost to a T is saying that people are going to come back to work. And although work from home may have a place to some degree in some situations, we're going to work from our corporate office. So how they readdress the social distancing will come down to space planning and working out those flows and efficiencies. But it will be interesting to see what the net effect of all of that is.
Right. And these people you've talked to have their own space already, right? So it's a matter of, we own this huge campus, this big building. You're talking about kind of the bigger employers. And so they're kind of figuring out what they're going to do. How about the people that are actually transacting? I mean, we're recording this in September of 2020. So there is a sense as the kids go back to school, whether it's virtually or online, and summer kind of ends and fall kind of begins, that people are starting to move around more. Certainly the roads are more crowded and, people are out and about with, new rules and limitations as to how they operate. But so are people transacting, or are you seeing people just say, you know what, we're going to hold off on expanding or moving or whatever until we figure out what we really need?
When this started, there was really a stoppage of new deals for the most part. There were little odds and ends that would go on, but there was a stoppage of new deals, new tenants, new prospects out in the marketplace. That continued for quite a while. And even today, although it's picked up to some degree, the velocity of activity on listings, especially major listings, is not where it was pre-COVID. If you look at what is happening now with the increased, more cars on the road, people are in, there's businesses that are, after Labor Day, want to open up, bring the people back. It'll be interesting to see what the fourth quarter holds for activity. And I remain optimistic that it will start again. And I don't know to what level. I mean, this is a long-term situation. It's not going to be cured tomorrow.
Right.
It could have effects lasting many, many years. And everybody's going to, as part of business, you always look at your occupancy cost and what that is. And if there's ways to be efficient with your occupancy cost, and that, whatever that means, any business leader or business-minded person who's running a company is going to look at that. So what it does is, from my perspective, just creates opportunity one way or the other. You need to help somebody either find more space, downsize, whatever their situation may be. And so I think the opportunity will be there. What the effect will be in the market, that remains to be seen as we go down the road.
I heard on a news program, someone used a baseball metaphor and said that they're projecting that we're probably in the third inning.
I'm surprised I probably didn't do that, because usually when I talk about the deal process, you're either in the on-deck circle, at bat, on first, second, third, or you've scored. So I would say we're probably on first. So that probably is analogous to what you just said. But there's just so much uncertainty in how these companies will react. What was the Google's the one that said, we're working from home till July of next year.
Right.
So, and I know there's a lot of corporations around here that do not expect to have their employees back until after the first of the year. And, everyone says it's dependent on how the medical community does and the vaccines and the things that they can do to ensure safety of everybody. But a lot of people have already made that, a lot of companies have already made that commitment to not coming back to work in the office until after the first of the year at the earliest.
And you look at Google, I mean, I think their cash flow is pretty strong. They've probably got tons of employees in a big building that they probably paid cash for. But I suspect that small businesses and small office space don't have that luxury.
They don't. No, they don't. They don't. And they, many times for those smaller businesses, when I say smaller businesses, I don't mean the 500, 700 square foot, but our average size in this market's 3,600 square feet, our average size user. So, they don't have that luxury.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, it's crazy times, and I suspect that the fallout of this is going to be pretty, long felt. And I appreciate you and your cohorts trying to navigate, because really this show is all about the economic sustainability of Michigan and mid-Michigan. And it's hard to see some of this momentum lost as small businesses really struggle during this time. But thanks for sharing your expertise with us. We've been talking to Senior Vice President and Office Associate for Martin Commercial Properties, Mr. Eric Rosekrans. Thanks for joining me, Eric.
Nope.